Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Monday, October 23rd. Welcome to the live stream for studentloanjustice.org. I hope, particularly if you're new to the group, you'll tell everyone about this group. We are the first, largest, and only true grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. We've been around for 18 very long years now, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you. And the one thing that we've been missing are more people, normal people like you, actually helping us fight. So we're fighting for two things. We're fighting for the cancellation of all federally owned student loans by executive order. The lending system is finished, guys. It's failed beyond any failed loan system that we've ever seen in our nation's history. The loans should be canceled. Quite frankly, the entire federal student loan program needs to be ended and replaced. That's a little bit of a bigger thing there, but certainly all federally owned student loans should, and I say must be canceled. And this would require not one dime from the Treasury. It would not add one penny to the national debt, by the way. You can do it essentially for free. You can't say that about PPP loans. The second thing that we're fighting for is the return of standard constitutional bankruptcy protections to student loans. You know, there are a lot of loans out there, private student loans, privately held, federally guaranteed student loans that cannot be canceled by executive order. But even more than that, guys, and we've been doing this for 18 years. So believe me when I tell you, getting our bankruptcy rights restored is by far and away the first and most important thing that needs to happen if we're ever going to see meaningful student loan cancellation. Maybe you want a break on interest on your loans. Maybe you want some other negotiated settlement. Whatever you want to see happen with your student loans, it is not going to happen until we, the people, have the leverage, the power of bankruptcy back on our side, as the founding fathers called for it in the Constitution, by the way. A lot of people don't know the founding fathers called for uniform bankruptcy laws in the Constitution. Head of the power to declare war, head of the power to raise an army, head of all the rights enumerated in the Bill of Rights. That's a very, very, very important point here. So if you have any questions or comments, throw them out. I'm very happy to read them aloud on air if I can see them. And let me just dial them in now. Hopefully, I can't always see the comments, but certainly I guarantee you that if I can see your comment, I will happily, or question, I will happily respond to it on air, live in stream. So tonight, guys, I just want to talk about one very simple thing that you can do, and in my humble opinion, everyone with student loans needs to do in order to actually move the ball down the field in the right direction for us. So it's really simple, guys, and it has to do with that second thing I said, bankruptcy. So we need to get a bankruptcy bill passed through the House of Representatives. So and we're a fiercely nonpartisan group, let me say. Last session, the Democrats promised to return bankruptcy rights. They won control in 2020. They won control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And at the 11th hour last session, at the very end of 2022, it's a 2-year session, the Democrats blatantly betrayed us, and now the Republicans have control of the House of Representatives. So we have got to get the most critical path is that we have got to get bankruptcy rights returned to these loans, and the Republicans in the House have got to do it. So there's good news and bad news on that. The good news is the bill is likely to come through. Is the most appropriate committee for this legislation is the Judiciary Committee. And we have several Republicans on the Judiciary Committee who totally are on our side and agree with us. So we can get a bipartisan bill passed through the Judiciary Committee without too many problems. Now, the bad news is, as I said, we're whatever your political stripes are, you're very welcome on this group. Quite frankly, we can't stand the Democrats, can't stand the Republicans. We sort of hate them in different ways. I think it's kind of a good cop, bad cop thing. But Jim Jordan is the guy who leads the House Judiciary Committee. And he will be very, very difficult to convince to get that bill going up and through his committee. Not impossible, but difficult. as I said, we've got quite a few Republicans on that committee that agree with us already, so that's a good start. The other very, very good news that we have going for us is that there are 38 million distressed student loan borrowers in the country. And more than half of them, way more than half of them, are either Republican or independent. So we are the large, and the rest, probably half are Democrat, half are Republican / independent. So we are the largest untethered voting bloc certainly in modern American history. That's true. If you show me any other issue like I don't know, abortion or gun control or I think immigration, any issue you can point to, I will show you a very mature, very well-defined issue around which the battle lines are very clear. You've got the Democrats on one side, the Republicans on the other. For student loans, that's not really true at all. And the first thing you need to know is what I just said, that more than half of all student loan borrowers are either Republican or independent. But the second thing is that we are a large enough voting bloc that we are now deciding elections, particularly close elections. Like, why did Donald Trump lose Georgia in 2020? I'll tell you why. Because of student loans. Georgia is one of the worst hurt states in the union on student loans. And so we have a huge amount of power, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I'm trying to tell you. We are a tiger, and we will absolutely decide the 2024 elections. And the Republicans, they wag their finger at us, certainly on student loan cancellation, and fine. You know, I honestly don't even care about student loan cancellation right now. I care far more about getting the leverage of bankruptcy returned. Because only when we have the leverage of bankruptcy back on our side, only then are we going to see the president be compelled to actually cancel student loans, or the Secretary of Education, by executive order. Yeah, you guys, I don't think most of you people on this group realize how important bankruptcy is. Massively, hugely important. So the one thing that you can do right now as I'm talking to you, in fact, before this live stream finishes, there's one thing that you can do that will actually help move the ball in our direction. As I was just saying, Jim Jordan turns out to be a very key guy on this, as the chairman of the Judiciary Committee in the House, certainly. But should he become speaker, and that's a little cloudy, it's a little muddy these days, but should he become speaker, that makes him even all the more important for us. So we are asking everyone on our group, certainly, but quite frankly, everybody with student loans, we're asking everyone to call Jim Jordan. Look down. There's his number right there, 202-225-2676. You can call him right now, press option number 2, and leave a message. And I don't want to script people. I don't want to tell people exactly what to say, but tell him to return constitutional bankruptcy protections to student loans. Say whatever you think might help make that point more compelling to him. He's a Republican in Ohio. If you live in his district, by the way, if you happen to live just west of Cleveland, let me know, because we would love to do a local action in his district. But if not, yeah, call that number, 202-225-2676. Press option number 2 and leave a message, and tell Jim Jordan and his staff that they need to, I would say something like this. You need to, and this is pretty much what I said in my message. I said you need to stand up and take a stand against the colleges, against the Department of Education and its weaponized loan scam, for the people of Ohio, for the people of this country. And you need to join your colleagues like Josh Hawley, like John Cornyn in Texas, both Republicans, like Matt Gaetz. You need to return standard constitutional bankruptcy protections to student loans. So I can't remember how long they give you on your messages. I think it's pretty quick. I think it's like 30 seconds or less. So you might have to talk a little bit fast. But the point is, tell Jim Jordan very strongly and firmly to return bankruptcy protections to student loans. Now, I know a lot of you people out there right now are saying, I don't want to file for bankruptcy. Why does this guy keep talking about bankruptcy? Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. Bankruptcy sucks. Bankruptcy is unpleasant. It is no picnic. It's stigmatizing. It's unpleasant. Nobody wants to do it. Doesn't matter, guys. Doesn't matter. Whether you would ever or never file for bankruptcy does not matter. Key point here, dudes. When we get the leverage of bankruptcy returned without anyone actually having to file, they're going to have to cancel student loans very broadly, very meaningfully, very deeply, maybe even totally. You need to understand that this is not about you and whether you would file for bankruptcy. This is about we, the people, getting the power, the leverage of bankruptcy returned to us. Just the threat of bankruptcy will be far and away large enough to force the Department of Education and the president to cancel student loans very broadly, very meaningfully, maybe even totally. Who knows? If I was president, I would throw the whole entire thing into the bathtub and drown it. If I was president, quite frankly, any rational president would look at this thing like I have been for 18 years, and they'd come to the same conclusion. You know, lending systems fail from time to time. This one is, by all rational metrics, a long dead dog, and it needs to be taken to the bath and drowned in the tub, and we need to replace this lending system with something that actually works. So that is what you can do right now as we're talking. Before I finish this live stream, you can have already made your call to Jim Jordan at 202-225-2676. I hope that makes sense. So, ladies and gentlemen, I also need to ask you, please, if you could please donate at this time. I have to ask, we haven't gotten in any donations yet today, and I'm getting, frankly, a little bit worried. We don't need much to survive and thrive and fight and win this battle. This week, for example, we need to raise $750, which by our standards is maybe a little bit on the high side. We haven't gotten anything in yet this week, folks, so I'm very worried. We do have a challenge out from a restaurant worker, Paul, in Boston. He works at a restaurant, and he chips in $50 a month, actually, but he wanted me to use this as a challenge to you all to match his $50 donation. And, you know, if Paul can do it, I don't know how much working at a restaurant pays these days. Probably not a lot. I think he's a cook, by the way. I don't think he's a waiter. Anyways, if you would please take Paul up on that, that would be just extraordinarily helpful. And let me dial in the link for you. You know, and again, if you're new to the group, I should say, guys, while we may not appear to be that big of a deal, we actually are. In fact, it is this group that spawned the entire conversation around canceling student loans by executive order. I kid you not. We started that conversation in public months and months and months before any other politicians, any groups, anyone was talking about canceling student loans by executive order. In fact, we did the very first media interview on the question of whether the president could even cancel student loans by executive order. By the way, he can. Don't believe that Supreme Court nonsense, dudes. We're still in that hunt. The secretary still has very, 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 very broad, wide, unambiguous authority to waive, compromise, and release federally owned student loan debt, which is about 88% or so of all student loan debt in the country. That all started here on this group, guys. I kid you not. We have a lot to be proud of. Change.org/cancel student loans. Check out our petition. It was that petition that ignited everything. So we've got a lot to be proud of. It is also this group that is the reason that any number of very good pieces of bankruptcy legislation have come forth in years and even decades, I'm sorry to say, in the past. And it is this group that is going to be the reason that good bankruptcy legislation comes and knock on wood, is passed. There's no other groups fighting this battle, guys. You know, we could be calling like the other groups do for loan cancellation all day long until the cows come home. We can be begging this president or the next forever to cancel student loans. And as long as we don't have the threat of bankruptcy on our backside, back on our side, on our backside as well, I guess. Unless and until we have that power, guys, we're going to be absolutely screwed. We're going to get drips and drabs and a token cancellation here, a token cancellation there. And maybe this is a slide that I will leave you with here tonight. This is very important that you understand. You know, Joe Biden and his team are sitting there going, they're trying to run on this again. They're trying to run on the student loan issue like they successfully did in 2020, 2022. But here's the real story behind all the Biden student loan cancellations that we've been seeing over the past months. So check this out, guys. So yeah, it's true. Joe Biden did cancel $125 billion in student loans in his first roughly 3 years in office. But dudes, that's nothing compared to the amount of interest that accrues in a typical 3-year period, or the amount of loan originations. So, which are about the same amount, about $300 billion every 3 years. So sure, Biden can cancel $125 billion in student loans every 3 years. That's great. But the loan portfolio will still grow by $624 billion during the same time period. So the net growth of the lending the federal student loan portfolio in 3 years is $500 billion. That's in 3 years. So over 10 years, that's like, what is that? That's like way over $1.5 trillion that the federal loan portfolio will grow by, even if Biden or the next president continues to cancel $125 billion every 3 years. So don't believe all the nonsense, guys. And again, we're a fiercely nonpartisan group. We hate the Republicans. We can't stand the Democrats. We really have no party, ladies and gentlemen. We tell the truth. And if you have strong leanings one way or the other, I guarantee you that we're going to say bad things about whatever political candidate you like, because we tell the truth on this group. And I hope you can appreciate that fact. But getting back to my first point, if you appreciate this group, just please donate so I can shut up about it, dudes. I really suck at fundraising. I really don't like to do it. We can survive and thrive on very little, but we cannot do it on nothing. So just please donate so I can shut my mouth and not have to do this horrible, horrible, terrible fundraising all the time. Thank you in advance, by the way. There's the link, by the way, studentloanjustice.org/donate, all one word, lowercase. And thanks to everybody who's been pitching in lately, by the way. I can't stress that enough. Great heartfelt thanks to everybody who has already made that phone call to Jim Jordan. You know, we need a little tiny bit of money to function as a group. That's true. But more than anything, what makes this group good and powerful and strong and important are people doing our daily actions, are doing these phone calls to Jim Jordan. And let me just dial it in. This is, again, for the benefit of people who are new to the group. Nearly every day, we do daily actions. So you can go to our website, studentloanjustice.org. Top of the page, you can see something and it'll say daily action. And there, at that bit.ly link, right where I'm pointing right now, is another way that you can get there. So bit.ly/SLJ daily action. We do daily actions probably 4 or 5 times a week. We are asking everyone, including and especially you sitting there, and if you've never done anything with this group before, if you've been sitting here on the sidelines, waiting, watching, worrying, the very least that you need to do right now are get in the habit of doing our daily actions. They're quick. You need a Twitter account, but they're quick. In fact, if you were to go to our daily actions right now, by the time I finish my live stream, you could probably complete at least 1, if not 2 days of our daily actions. I'm going to be signing off here in about less than 1 minute, by the way. So that's how quick our daily actions are. We have 1.5 million people on our group across all of our platforms. If everyone on our group were doing our daily actions, this problem would be solved. Your problem, your student loan problem, would be solved within weeks or months, a few months at the most. If 1.5 million people a day were making the phone calls we asked them to make, retweeting the stuff that we asked them to retweet, I guarantee you guys, your student loan problem, whatever it may be, would be gone. We need warriors on this group, ladies and gentlemen, not worriers. We need people fighting with us. We have way too many people not going to war. They're sitting there and being consumed by worry, and they're doing nothing. And that does not wash on this group. This is a working, fighting group. If you want to be in this group, you got to do the very minimal level of effort that we expect. And that starts by doing our daily actions. And right now, here today, during this live stream, it means calling that number, calling Jim Jordan, option number 2, leave a message, tell him to return bankruptcy protections to student loans. So, ladies and gentlemen, the last thing I'll say tonight is the thing about donations. Again, I have to harp on that. Just please donate if you could. It's getting scary here. This group is definitely worth keeping around. I hope you agree. So please donate if you can, particularly if you've never donated, if you haven't donated in a while, and very particularly if you've actually gotten your loans canceled recently. And I know quite a few people on our group have, interestingly. So please help out so that we can live to fight another day, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be back either tomorrow or Wednesday. So good luck. Godspeed doing those daily actions. Godspeed making that phone call to Congressman Jim Jordan of Ohio, telling him to return bankruptcy protections to student loans. And God bless everyone.